the colors of love. Once upon a time, in a quaint village surrounded by rolling hills, there lived an old couple who had only one daughter, Sophia. Sophia was a kind and gentle soul. Sophia had always been a dreamer, her heart full of colors and imagination. As a young girl, she would spend hours under the ancient oak tree on their farm, painting the landscapes that surrounded her. Her parents cherished her talent, but as they aged, the burden of the farm fell solely on Sophia's shoulders. The brushes and paints she once loved were set aside, gathering dust as she devoted herself to caring for the farm and her aging parents. Years passed, and Sophia's dream of becoming a painter seemed to fade into the background. Yet, every evening, as she watched the sun set over the hills, the desire to create still flickered within her. One day, while selling produce in the nearby town, she wandered into an art shop where a painting of a lone tree against a vibrant sunset caught her eye. It reminded her of the landscapes she used to paint and stirred something deep within her. That night, unable to shake the memory of the painting, Sophia rummaged through her attic and found her old brushes and paints. Nervously, she set up a small easel by the window and began to paint. Her hands were unsteady, and the first few strokes were awkward, but she persisted. Night after night, she painted in secret, slowly rekindling the joy she had long forgotten. One evening, a curious thing happened. Sophia had just finished a painting of the sunset over the fields, and feeling a sense of pride she hadn't felt in years, she decided to leave it on the windowsill to dry. The next morning, as she went about her chores, she noticed something strange. People walking past her house kept glancing up at her window. They would pause, whisper to one another, and then move on with puzzled expressions. It wasn't until her neighbor, Mrs. Finch, knocked on the door that Sophia realized what was happening. "Sophia, dear," Mrs. Finch said with a twinkle in her eye, "I've noticed something quite unusual in your window. That painting. Did you make it?" Caught off guard, Sophia blushed and nodded. "I did, Mrs. Finch, but it's nothing, really. Just something I do in my spare time." But Mrs. Finch wasn't easily dismissed. "Oh, nonsense. It's beautiful. You've captured the very soul of our village. You must let others see it." Word spread quickly, and soon villagers were making excuses to walk by Sophia's house, hoping to catch a glimpse of her latest work. Some even left notes of admiration on her doorstep, asking if she would create paintings for them. Sophia was overwhelmed by the response, but a part of her felt a thrill she hadn't experienced in years. Her secret passion was no longer just hers. It had become a source of joy for others. One day, the owner of the town's art gallery, Mr. Everett, came knocking. He had heard the rumors and was eager to see Sophia's work for himself. When he saw the painting on the windowsill, he was speechless. "Sophia," he said after a long pause, "this is extraordinary. You must exhibit your work in my gallery. The world deserves to see what you've created." Sophia hesitated, unsure if she was ready for such a step. But her parents, seeing the spark in her eyes, encouraged her to take the leap. "It's never too late, Sophia," her father said with a proud smile. "Better late than never." And so, Sophia's paintings were displayed in the gallery, where they quickly became the talk of the town. People came from far and wide to see the art of the old couple's daughter, who had captured the beauty of their village with such heart and soul. Among the many admirers was a young, handsome, and wealthy man named Alexander. He was known throughout the region for his business acumen and charm, but what most didn't know was that Alexander had a deep appreciation for art. When he visited the gallery one day, he was immediately drawn to Sophia's paintings. There was something about the way she captured the beauty of the village, the golden fields, the glowing sunsets, and the tender details of everyday life that left him utterly speechless. Alexander found himself returning to the gallery day after day, each time more captivated by Sophia's work. Intrigued, he asked Mr. Everett about the artist, and soon found himself visiting Sophia's farm. When Alexander met Sophia, he was immediately drawn to her humble nature and the passion she poured into her art. Over time, their conversations deepened, and he found himself falling in love with her. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Alexander took Sophia's hand and simply said, "Sophia, you've captured my heart. Will you marry me?" Sophia's eyes filled with tears of joy. She had never imagined that her life would take such a turn, that her art would bring love into her life in such a beautiful way. Smiling, she nodded. "Yes, Alexander, I will." And so, Sophia and Alexander were married in a grand celebration that brought the whole village together. They lived happily ever after, with Sophia continuing to paint, now with even more love and inspiration in her heart, knowing that it truly was better late than never. Thank you